And we were just talking pre-show before we started recording Kottonmouth Kings. So I figured we go right to the Kottonmouth King topic because it's fresh on our minds. Kottonmouth Confusion. It's kind of like my little series of Kottonmouth videos that I've been putting out the last couple years, and it's ain't any less confusing than it was fucking 3 years ago today. You know what I mean? Like, it's earlier in the year we had d-loc hyping the Kottonmouth Kings demos, and it was the original demos. We've always heard about these demos for years. You know, Saint Dog, d-loc, Johnny Richter, and it was always something I wanted to hear. And for d-loc to put it out, I thought was dope, just so we could get to hear these demos. I don't know if you have got a chance to hear the album yet.
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, okay. Sound quality wise, it's pretty much what I expected. Demos, you know what I mean? I wasn't expecting crystal clear audio, but just to hear them three together and to hear like Bonk Token Alcoholics at, you know, the original was Underage Alcoholics, and hearing not much of the songs were actually changed. And there was parts on songs where Johnny Richter was rapping parts where Saint ended up rapping on the Royal Highness album. So it sounds like they were originally Johnny Richter. And, you know, I had always remembered or, you know, hearing rumors that of beef between Richter and Saint because Richter would be rapping Saint shit on stage. But it sounds like it was originally Richter's shit anyway.
It was cool in the sense of, like you said, we always heard about that album existing. It was cool to hear it. Like you said, the audio quality wasn't really there, but it was the same way of like hearing Dog Beats or Intelligence and Violence. You've always heard about it, so it's cool to actually put the thing on and hit play and listen to it. And yeah, it was interesting to know that those songs that we eventually heard on Royal Highness that became like one of our favorite fucking albums, both of us, of all time, kind of started totally different because whenever Richter took over in the group, like you said, it was rumored that Saint was mad that he was rapping Saint's parts on stage. I know he changed some of the parts up, like whenever he would perform, he would change the lyrics up so it weren't just rapping Saint's parts verbatim. But like I always heard about that beef, but then to go back and hear that like Richter was involved in that recording and writing sessions of Royal Highness kind of put a little bit more legitimacy in him being in the Kottonmouth Kings moving forward to me.
Absolutely. I loved hearing the originals of those songs. Again, I was just surprised to hear, you know, what Saint was rapping or even Loc was rapping on Royal Highness was some of Richter's original shit. And then you had like remixes, you know, they had like the Neighborhood Watch remix, but he was like rapping about Big Hoss. It was like it ended up being the Big Hoss song on Royal Highness. It's weird how like they took pieces, bits and pieces from different songs, and then like spread it out amongst other songs too. It was just really fucking dope to hear those OG, you know, because I always wanted when Saint was when he left, got kicked out, whatever it was, I had always wanted Saint to come back to Kottonmouth Kings and have it be Saint, Loc, and Richter, you know, of course, Daddy X and everybody else. But I always wanted like, you know, the three OG Kings back in the group. So it was just cool to hear those demos finally surface, you know?
Yeah, that era was almost like legendary that they performed together before it was just the two of them, that all three of them was together. So to actually see that there was proof of it, because like we said, it was just speculation for the longest fucking time and just hearsay. Nobody had ever heard it. So to actually have like physical proof of it, and even though it fucking sounds like it was recorded on like a 4-track back in 1997, it was still cool to hear. Just good historic. If you're not into like not super into Kottonmouth Kings, you're not gonna like it. If you haven't been following this band for the last 20 years, you're probably not gonna like it. Just stick with Royal Highness and fucking High Society. But if you're somebody's been fucking rolling with them for 20 years and always heard that that story that when they started out, it was the three of them and Richter was in the group. It was cool to see that there was actually proof that shit happened.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very
Spelled
dope to
with
see
it,
that.
spelled Kottonmouth with a C back then too. I always remember hearing
Yeah.
that shit.
Yep. Yep. And Loke would, like, he was getting real nostalgic at the beginning of the year, posting old flyers with the Kottonmouth with the C and shit.
Yep.
Um, it was dope. And then shortly after the Kottonmouth Kings demos album, d-loc started hyping a new Kottonmouth Kings record. But he's only posting pictures of himself. New Kottonmouth album coming soon. And it's like, don't tell me this dude's going to fucking drop a solo album and it's going to be called Kottonmouth Kings. Lo and behold, 420 comes. It's a fucking d-loc solo album labeled as a Kottonmouth Kings album. I never listened to it. I've heard clips. The clips that I heard weren't really that good. I don't know if you've heard it, but what are your thoughts on d-loc releasing a Kottonmouth solo album under the Kottonmouth banner?
Just on that front, I, I don't think anybody likes it, but I also see why he's doing it because if you're the Cottonmouth Kings, you've got like 100,000 followers on Spotify. If you just, that listens to them monthly. But if you just put your shit out of d-loc, you probably got 5,000 followers that hear you monthly. So I can see it from a business perspective, and also from him like hanging on to something that he spent his whole youth building. He just doesn't want to like walk away from that. But I don't think any Cottonmouth Kings fan like us that grew up with them fucking enjoyed that just d-loc was on there. I think we all thought Richter was going to be on there, and then that kind of fell apart. And once that fell apart, it was like it's really hard to call a Cottonmouth King album a Cottonmouth King album, at least if two of them ain't on there. Like even whenever it was just Saint and Loke, like you can get by calling them a Cottonmouth King album like that. But once it came out, I mean, the music is just it's a d-loc solo album. It's nothing special. And the whole thing about Cottonmouth Kings was just the variety of music that they brought on an album. Like you would get everything from punk rock, West Coast hip hop. Sometimes you get, depending on who was writing the songs, you get more hardcore sounding shit. And it was just a d-loc solo album. Every song basically was just sounding the same. So it didn't have that Cottonmouth King feel to it. But I also got to say, probably since 2009, 2010, something like that, I don't think any Cottonmouth King album that came out had a good Cottonmouth King vibe to it either. So at this point, I don't know what would have been done outside of them getting back together with Saint before he passed away to save like the musical legacy, because I didn't like the last 4 or 5 albums. Long Live the Kings was the last one I could really fuck with. I only like 4 or 5 songs off that. So it's not like they've been putting out fucking classic albums. So I wasn't really holding an album being called Cottonmouth King on such a high plateau or anything like that. It's just what it is. I can see both sides of it. I know why he did it. He did it so like I said, whenever he puts that album out, it's immediately in 100,000 people's fucking playlist because they follow Cottonmouth Kings. They don't follow d-loc. So I can see why he did it, but I wish he wouldn't. It's almost like Alice in Chains continuing on as Alice in Chains without Lane Staley. Like, I hate that.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I agree with you with you saying they haven't been putting out good music anyway, for the majority of the last decade at least anyway. But I enjoyed the Kingdom Come record. Um, you know, I wouldn't rank it that high among the Cottonmouth discography, but I enjoyed it because it was kind of like the Three Kings returning, even though Richter was a feature artist, which was fucking bizarre. But it was, Loke and Saint, which was, it was like Royal Highness shit.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a few bangers on that album. Specifically the songs with Richter on it. Like when all three of them were on that shit, those songs were like the standout songs. Just because, like you said with Cottonmouth, you get different styles. You got different. You got Richter, who's maybe on some different shit than Saint, Loke, Daddy X. Even going back to the other records, you got all these styles just coming in, and you're just gonna get a crazy ass Cottonmouth record from them. And I was not a fan of d-loc doing the solo thing calling it Kottonmouth. I get, like you said, from a business perspective, I get it. But really, you're just shitting on the legacy that you're trying to keep going. And is he really keeping it going with the new album? Like, did that many people really vibe out to it, check it out, still stream it 8 months, 7 months later, whatever? You know what I mean?
I I know now he's bringing like a live band with him, and I've actually heard pretty good reviews about those shows. So at least he's switching it up. I think he's figured out that if he's going to call himself Cottonmouth Kings, he's got to figure out a way to just not be d-loc doing it. So the live band actually sounds like a good idea. I mean, I don't I don't really know what he could do. I mean, if he just calls himself d-loc, like I said, he's going to lose hundreds of thousands of followers that he spent fucking his youth building up. So I don't even know what he could do at this point outside of fucking getting together with them other dudes that he fucking used to be in the fucking band with and getting them together to save, like, as far as the name having a legacy to it. Because right now, just bringing in random musicians and playing behind you isn't the Kottonmouth Kings either. So outside of making up with Daddy X, Richter. I don't think Bobby B's coming back. I don't think he's making up with anybody. But if you can get two or three of those dudes back, then I think you could start at least calling yourself the Kottonmouth Kings and the fans accepting you calling yourself the Kottonmouth Kings. Until then, I think it's just going to be kind of looked at with like a side eye. It's going to have to be really good music to get through the perception of it just being Loc trying to live off the name. So the music is going to have to be even better than it was originally to get some notice, because people are already writing it off without even hearing it. So your music's really got to stand out. And I don't know if I don't know if Loc himself, just him being the only one there, is capable of that.
Well, it was always rumored that Roke never even wrote his own shit anyway, or at least some of his shit. There was always, it's all rumors and shit. But Saint was writing his shit, Richter was writing his shit, Judge D was writing his shit for Cotton when he was in Kottonmouth Kings, when Judge D was in the picture back in the day. Always heard those rumors, and d-loc would always, throughout the year, especially in the beginning of the year when people were really saying, talking about him just doing the Kottonmouth King solo, he was constantly defending it. I get, like I said, I get it. He's been doing this for 20 years. It's something he's invested so much fucking time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears into, and of course he's gonna defend it. Johnny Richter remained largely quiet just over the, pretty much fucking ever. You never really heard Johnny Richter going on rants online, compared to other members. But he did do a live stream probably in the middle of this year where he was just like, look, I'm owed money. It's not Kottonmouth Kings if it's just one person. I agreed more with what Johnny Richter was saying than what Loc was saying. And, even though he wasn't on that first album, he is an OG member, and he put fucking mad time into Kottonmouth Kings as well, and to know that he doesn't have a stake in the ownership of Kottonmouth Kings kind of fucking hurts, and he doesn't have any say, apparently Loc has 50% of the rights, and then whoever the fuck Daddy X sold his rights to, Cleopatra or whatever, got the other 50%. But, it was good to hear from Johnny Richter. And I felt like he wasn't really even shitting on anybody. He was just kind of like, look, this is the fucking position I'm in, and is what it is. What'd you think of Richter finally speaking out?
Usually when Richter talks, he kind of talks about it in his own perspective and doesn't throw people under the bus like you're talking about. He kind of kept it just, this is what's going on with me and why I'm not fucking with the Kottonmouth Kings right now. I think he did a pretty good job laying everything out. I think he showed he was pretty level headed, and I think that's why you hear so many people saying Richter was like the coolest one in the group or whatever. He seems like the most level headed one out of all of them. I mean, love Saint to death, man, but that motherfucker was crazy nuts. And fucking
Right.
d-loc, man, you know, that dude's fucking crazy. And Daddy X seems pretty fucking stuck in his own ways, like he kind of only sees his own path. And Richter's always been that chill dude, man, and he really came across with it coming out like that. He wasn't trying to take anybody down. He was just letting everybody, all the Kottonmouth Kings fans, know why he wasn't on that album.
Yeah. You know, if you're not getting paid for something you're a part of, um, you know, why would you want to do it? You know, he was talking about, you know, Loc sending him songs and not. It sounded like that he just wanted Richter to do the songs after he was sent them and not really be in the studio. You know, that's weird too. You know, that's some shit that fans don't really see or know about till probably after the fact. But you know, to not be in the studio working on songs and just being sent some shit, and you're probably like, "What the fuck is this? I don't want to write to this," you know?
And then you can definitely hear it whenever the fans listen to it in the music. If you hear that song, you could tell it was made by email and it wasn't made back in like it was back in the day whenever everybody was writing together and helping. We talked about like Loc not really writing a lot. Like Richter and Saint was always the writers, and then d-loc, you'd be right there beside them, and I'm sure Saint and Richter was helping them out with his shit. So it's like a collective effort of everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, you know, uh, and then when Richter was doing that live stream, you know, more controversy. King Klick forms. Johnny Richter, Chucky Chuck, Obnoxious, King Klick. I know you took kind of like, hey, this is kind of similar to what Loc is doing with Kottonmouth Kings. King Klick is Kottonmouth Kings. This isn't fucking Kottonmouth Kings. I agree, but it's tough. I think it would have been easier to swallow if Obnoxious wasn't in the group. It was Chucky Chuck, you know, an OG. Chucky Chuck been around for a long ass time. If it was Chucky and Jay Rick, you know, I feel like that might be easier to take in as a fan. And at the same time, did I ever really? I guess Cottonmouth Kings had that, you know, the King Klick song. So it's
And
just fucking.
there's that video where d-loc's wearing the shirt that says King Klick. d-loc was calling out King Klick the earliest. He calls out King Klick on Royal Highness. So I just thought it was like a shot at d-loc. It's like, you're gonna take the thing that he probably repped the hardest. Like, I couldn't find a picture of any of the other guys in a video rocking the King Klick shirt, but I could see d-loc. And it was kind of just like I said, it seemed like it was just all about like a personal shot at d-loc, because the reason I was saying I could justify d-loc keeping the Kottonmouth Kings name is because of all that established equity he built up in the past 20 years. And I was just like, why don't they just call themselves the suburban noize soldiers and already have that like backed up, and you've already got a catalog, you've already got streaming fans and shit like that. It just seemed like they went out of their way to take a shot at d-loc. That's what I didn't like about it.
Yeah. It's Richter probably felt the same way when d-loc released that Cottonmouth Kings record, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's probably what led to it. Like, you know, let's get a shot in and call it King Klick. That was the only part I didn't like about it. But I mean, I think they would have had a better reception if they were just Subnoise Soldiers, because that was already a established name, and that's basically what they are. That's basically what
Right.
Subnoise Soldiers always was just a
I
collection
mean,
of the guys on that label, and that's what they are.
yeah, and the EP was just, I think it was what, 6 songs, and it had fucking everybody from Suburban Noize on there. It was damn
Yeah.
near a fucking Noize Soldiers album, you
So
know?
yeah, it just seemed like they did the opposite. Like, they picked a name that wouldn't help them establish their name. They could have went with Subnoise Soldiers. Like I said, it's already built, but they went with like a new name just to kind of get a shot in on d-loc. I thought that was kind of lame, but the music was
Yeah,
good. I can't front, like the music was dope.
yeah. I don't mind the name because it's not actually Cottonmouth Kings. Like if they were to somehow come out and fucking Cottonmouth King it up too, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on here, bro? This is some wild shit, you
That's
know?
that's the next step in this fucking saga. Is there gonna be two Cottonmouth Kings, and the funny part is neither one of them's gonna actually be Cottonmouth Kings. What anybody wants to see.
That'd be fucking wild, yo. And I wouldn't be surprised after all the shit that we've seen over the last few years. I wouldn't be fucking surprised to see that shit. That'd be fucking
we
crazy.
we
And then
we might actually have a third one because I've heard rumors that Daddy X and Dirtball recorded a song together recently, so they might put out
oh,
their own version of Cottonmouth Kings.
there you go. There you go. Daddy X and Dirtball working again.
And
That'd be some shit.
Dirtball confirmed that too. Dirtball's the one that said it, so it's not like
Oh,
rumor.
word?
Yeah,
What did he go on a live stream or something?
he answered like it was a comment in like one of his social media sections or something. He's commented that him. They asked something about if he'd heard from Daddy X. It was whenever everybody was talking about it and shit. And he's like, not only have I heard from him, we're working on shit.
That's really surprising. Holy shit. Not only did Dirtball find Daddy X, but he got him working on some fucking music.
Straight up.
That's crazy.
So we
Yeah,
might have
Dirtball.
Cottonmouth Kings Part 3 as well. Have three of them going.
Shit. Dirtball's shit, man. Shout out to Dirtball. His last album was fucking fire. And he was always one of my favorite artists from Suburban Noize. They had a shitload of artists back in the day. I always fucked with Dirtball. Dude could rap his ass off. Yeah.
He had a group with like Big B, didn't he? When they first
No,
started, they were.
I don't think so. It's just when Big B and Dirtball first like started popping up on Suburban Noize, they just like worked with each other fucking really heavily. Like that second Sub Noise Soldiers album, like they're on so many songs together. I remember going to Kottonmouth shows back in the day, like they would just split a set between the two of them, like they would just rock each other's songs.
Yeah, that's why I thought they had a group because there's so many songs and videos. I remember the videos on the KMK, like bonus DVDs they put out. They'd always be a couple videos, and it'd be Big B and Dirtball.
Yep. Yeah, Big
Kind of
B
like
was
kind of like ABK and Blaze, just kind of work together really well.
yeah. Yep. And then just recently, just this past week actually, ICP did they got their December streams going, and they did ICP investigates the fall of Cottonmouth Kings. They had Chucky Chuck on the show, Kevin Zinger, DJ Bobby B, who is somebody that we've seen type and write shit online, go on long rants online, but never like do a video. And then Johnny Richter was supposed to be on it, but he wasn't on it. And that show was fucking dope. That was such a good show, man. Like, I love Cottonmouth King so much. Like, I don't want that to get lost in the sauce. I love Cottonmouth King so much. And when I saw ICP doing it, you know, Cottonmouth toured with ICP back in the day. They always worked with each other throughout their career. And ICP's kind of in the same boat as us, as like, what the fuck happened? Why aren't these guys together? What are they doing? What'd you think of the show?
I thought it was super dope. I thought it was pretty cool how into it Violent J was. Violent J knew like all kinds of facts. Like I thought it would be kind of them like watching videos and talking, and then like talking about Cottonmouth Kings after the video played, kind of like they did with like the Bigfoot shit. But like, man, Violent J had all the questions he wanted in his head, and he knew what he wanted to ask. Like usually it's Jump Steady kind of running those type of shows, like with questions that he's like got printed up. But man, he didn't need his printed up questions. Jay had like all the good questions, like everything I wanted to ask. Like Jay hit it, and it was cool that they brought the former members and then people that was around on. It was a good listen, hearing all the perspectives, because usually you'd hear one perspective and then it'd be like 2 years later you hear another guy's story, and then 6 months later you hear another guy's story. So it was cool to hear them all back to back right there, and kind of like judge for yourself who you think was in the wrong.
Yeah. You got different sides. Everybody's got their story. That's their fucking story. Can't say that it's, not true. That's their fucking truth. That's their fucking story. I thought it was interesting that they were set to bring Bobby B up, and then when they came back from the break and they're like, "Oh, we're actually going to go to Kevin Zinger." And I remember thinking to myself, like, no, Bobby B was like, I'm not going on until this motherfucker goes on. Because we all know Bobby B, how vocal he is against Kevin Zinger. So he probably wanted to hear what Zinger had to say and then was like, basically, fuck this guy.
Yeah, he basically came on right after Zinger and then blew up every like point that Zinger was trying to make. The whole story about like the merchandise, I always thought that was weird that that all of a sudden they started pushing the Spade logo. I remember they started doing it around like Rolling Stone time. It went from like the KMK logo being pushed to the fucking the Spade, like Johnny Richter got the tattoo and everything. And then to find out that they had no stake in that whenever they were the ones that were making it popular is pretty fucking lame. Like it was them that made that shit pop. It wasn't fucking Zinger. It was fucking Kottonmouth Kings rocking that shit. Like people thought it was legit. Like even Shaggy said it on the show. He thought that Spade was a fucking Kottonmouth King logo. He didn't know it meant SRH. So yeah, to hear that and to hear that they didn't have any stake in that and didn't make any money from it is kind of lame, man. Because Zinger has always came out of most of these conversations looking like the best, in my opinion, as far as morals and a good fucking dude. Like he always seems like he was the one that would like go out of his way to make sure fans didn't get screwed and shit like that. But if he was screwing them dudes that was fucking putting his fucking company on the map, that's a bad knock on Zinger, and I can see why Bobby B wanted to wait until after he went on so he could fucking pretty much just drop dimes on everything that Zinger tried to say.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Like I just always assumed SRH was a KMK thing too,
Yeah,
along with Suburban Noize. Um, and to hear that after the fact, because I mean, the Spade was on fucking everything, and I never thought about it like until now that everything's being brought to light. I didn't really think of it. I was just like, oh, that's Cottonmouth shit. It's just
yep.
normal everyday shit. You don't think about it, and now it's like Bobby B's like, nah, this dude was putting his logo on our shit, saying we were owners, taking the fucking money. That's that's some crazy shit to, if it's true. That's some crazy shit, man. The business side of shit, the shit that we don't know, we don't see, and the fuckery with Cottonmouth Kings and just hearing everybody's perspective. It was really dope to hear Bobby B. That dude was nervous as fuck when the camera first went on him. His voice was cracking. He was fucking. You could tell he was nervous as shit. Jay would ask him like, "So where's Daddy X?" He'd be like, "Fuck Kevin Zinger." He'd go off on a whole nother rant and not even answer the question.
Start talking to the dude that was in the room with him. Like just start talking to some random dude that was chilling. Like play this, I can't hear this. Yeah, he had like adrenaline going through him. He was so fucking pissed off from listening to Zinger. He had that adrenaline going, man. He was hype.
The ICP for that. I highly fucking enjoyed that shit.
Yeah, that was dope. I'm glad that was like the one that debuted on Twitch for free because everybody got a view of like the best fucking material that you could. Like if you want to fucking watch that stream, like and you've seen that Cottonmouth King stream, like you want to come back and watch all the other shit they do because that one was dope. That was a really good one to be the first one for everybody to see for free.
Of all the streams that I've seen a lot of them. That's right up there as like one of the best ones that they've done. Yeah,
Yep. It's up there with
easily.
the Jam Exam and the time they toured Southwest Detroit whenever they did the tours. That was up there with those, in my opinion.
I thought it was interesting that Violent J said, even if as going back just a few years, probably after the Crown Power album or during that era, he talked about being in talks with Daddy X of signing the Cottonmouth Kings to Psychopathic Records. And it was, supposed to happen and just, fizzled out. That's probably when Daddy X just fucking pieced the fuck out on everybody, But that would have been some shit if Cottonmouth Kings signed to Psychopathic, 5-6 years ago, whatever.
They tried to sign him originally like 20 years ago. They almost had him then. So Jay's always wanted him to be a part of the label. And I think that kind of push from signing the Psychopathic and that kind of hype it would have had might have brought the group back together. I think that would have been the best thing that they could have done if they were able to get on Psychopathic back then. And like you said, Daddy X just stopped talking to him. Like you said, it was
Yeah.
all good. They're talking about it. Sounds like they're serious. And then just he stops returning calls. So
Yeah.
it's fucking weird, man. Like turning down a lot of fucking money, man. You sign with Psychopathic all of a sudden, you get that fucking push. You got an opportunity to get as hot as you were back in the fucking early 2000s.
Like automatically, just from the announcement of your signing, like there's that fire again, like just immediately. Like it's
And
instant.
all the fucking old school Kottonmouth Kings fans gonna go back and start bumping all that old material just to get hype for the new shit. Like that would have brought some energy and buzz around the Kottonmouth Kings name, which it hasn't had for a very long time, other than negativity.
And I, like you said, it was dope that Violent J was so into it, asking all the right questions. I think one, because he's a fan, and he's friends with these guys. They toured so many fucking times, collaborated on so much music. Bobby B even said, if we were to get the group back together and I'd be a part of it, I want you be the mediator of that shit. You putting it together, nobody else. So, they were talking about, the Gathering of Dreams is coming up. It'd be a fucking dream to get Kottonmouth Kings reunited and back on stage. And he was even bringing Dirtball. He's like, I know Dirtball's not an original member, but bring him back into it. I'd be for that too. I mean, shit.
The funny thing that I was thinking the whole time he's saying this, he's like, I can't understand why Daddy X just doesn't put the personal shit aside to get this fucking band back to where it's supposed to be. I'm sitting there thinking, has this dude totally forgotten about Dark Lotus?
Right.
You're doing the same fucking thing, motherfucker.
I was thinking the same shit. I'm like, hey, you're saying this shit's too petty. You're losing out on too much money. Yeah. What about Dark Lotus? Twisted. You're missing out on mad money too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking whenever he was saying that shit. I was like, he has totally forgotten about Dark Lotus because he keeps saying he can't imagine why fucking Daddy X was doing this. Like, man, you're doing it too, so you can obviously imagine it. You're fucking doing it.
but then after he talked to Bobby B, he goes, "Oh, maybe it is too fucking fucked up and
much personal shit.
Yeah, can't be repaired." I mean, same could be, when he was realizing that, and that's when I started thinking, hey, maybe that's ICP and Twisted too. Maybe they can't. Maybe it's beyond fucking repair at this point.
Yeah, it's with Kottonmouth Kings. It's like almost anytime one beef gets cleared up, there's 18 other layers of beef that opens up whenever that one beef gets sealed up, and that could be what it is with ICP and Twisted as well. The way you could say it's a lot easier said than done. But that's what I was thinking the whole time, Violent J's. I just can't imagine what Daddy X is thinking, not fucking be it out and getting this band popping. Like everybody fucking from this era is making a lot of money right now. Everybody, from the 90s, early 2000s wants to see them in concert again. I'm like, Dark Lotus.
I know. True. But how dope would it be, ICP's farewell tour? It's Kottonmouth Kings and ICP. You got Loc up there, Richter up there, Daddy X up there. Throw Dirtball in the picture. Bobby B, fucking find Lou Dog wherever Lou Dog is. If you were to get all that, like basically the group back together like that in full, minus Saint, rest in peace, Saint. That would be some shit, man. That would be some shit.
That'd be dope. It'd be like the what was it, Juggalo Funhouse tour that they were on. Find Funk Junkies, see if they're still together. Fucking bring the whole fuck crew from 25 years ago out.
Wicked Wonka tour, fucking throw Tech 9 on that shit.
Hell yeah.
That'd be dope, man. But yeah, Kottonmouth Confusion is kind of like my ongoing series with Kottonmouth Kings, and we are just as confused as we were fucking since ever, really.
Ever since just Saint as confused as when it started.
Yeah, ever since Saint left the group, that's when the confusion began. And here we are fucking 25 years later, just as confused.
It is true that when Saint left is when the confusion started. They say it themselves. That picture that was inside High Society, it fucking has like 9 guys in the picture because they wanted to confuse the record label and not let them know Saint wasn't in the group anymore. So there's just a big giant picture. So yep, ever since Saint left, it's been fucking Kottonmouth confusion.
Yep. Yeah, I remember opening that High Society, the big ass poster.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about.
Who are all these people? Who are these people? I had no fucking idea.
I was wondering if Saint started painting his face. So it's like, is Saint got his face painted? Because Corporate Avenger was on there and he had the spiky hair like Saint had in the first album. I was like, Saint got his fucking face painted?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like, what the fuck is going on, man?
And then one of their DVDs, like Daddy X, was like, the reason we did that is so the record label wouldn't notice that we kicked the main guy out of the group.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy, man. Kottonmouth Kings, you know. Hopefully, I'd love to see it fucking just, you know, come full circle, everybody back together, all that shit. You know?
Like you said, especially if it's like opening for ICP on their farewell tour, it just makes sense, man. Kottonmouth Kings is so synonymous with ICP and Juggalos.
100%. It'd be super, super dope.
Yeah, that'd be some nostalgia shit right there.
But yeah,
put Saint up on the video screen during Pass Me By and get everybody in the fucking crowd crying, or get that fucking footage that I found where he's performing it.
Yep,
that'd be dope.
Yeah, when you posted that footage, I was like, I've never seen this. This is so dope. Watching, you know, d-loc, Saint up there singing, like Saint's up there like rapping along to the song and shit. I'm like, yo, these dudes were really fucking down with the clown like that. Like they were really juggalos like that.
Saint was so into it and singing every word that Violent J at one point notices it and just gives him the mic. He's like, this motherfucker's nailing every word. I'm just going to give him the mic.
There you go. I'm fucking done. My voice hurts. So dope.
Hell yeah, that's sweet.